Why is the United States suddenly placing massive tariffs on so many countries?
39%, we're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half.
Is it really helping America, or are everyday people paying the price? In this video, you'll get a clear, no-nonsense breakdown of what's really happening and what it means for the future. The answers may surprise you.
One, Trump's tariff strategy and its purpose. Since April 2nd, what Trump called Liberation Day, the United States has taken a much more aggressive approach toward global trade. President Trump announced that he would impose high tariffs on nearly every major trading partner. This included the European Union, Japan, the UK, Vietnam, and others. These tariffs were not small. Some reached as high as 50%.
European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders. 39%, we're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half. Vietnam, they like me, I like them. The problem is they charge us 90%. We're going to charge them 46% tariff. Taiwan, but 64%, we're going to charge them 32%. Japan, 46%, they would charge us 46%, and much higher for certain items like cars, little items like cars. 46%, we're charging them 24%.
But what is the real goal here? According to the Trump administration, the idea was simple. If America placed heavy taxes on foreign goods, those countries would be forced to negotiate better trade deals. These deals would include lower trade barriers for U.S. products or promises to invest large amounts of capital into the U.S. economy. In Trump's words, this was about making trade more fair. Compared to previous presidents, Trump's approach is quite different. Presidents like Barack Obama and George W. Bush focused more on multilateral agreements. They preferred long-term partnerships based on cooperation through organizations like the WTO. Tariffs were usually a last resort. Trump flipped this strategy. He used tariffs as a starting point, not the end. Instead of working through global trade bodies, Trump went directly to each country with threats, then made each deal one-on-one. This shift represents a major change in U.S. foreign economic policy. It's bold, unpredictable, and heavily focused on short-term gains.
2. Before and after the deals, who got what? Let's take a closer look at the actual results of Trump's trade negotiations. Each country faced a different level of threat. Trump used these threats as leverage to get concessions. For example, Trump threatened the European Union with a 50% tariff. In response, the EU agreed to purchase $750 billion worth of American energy products over 3 years. They also committed to investing $600 billion into the U.S. In return, the actual tariff was reduced to 15%. Before this, the EU was only paying around 4%, so the final tariff was still more than triple the original. With Japan, Trump threatened a 35% tariff. Japan agreed to allow more U.S. rice imports and made a $550 billion investment pledge. Eventually, the tariff was set at 15%. However, Japan later clarified that the $550 billion figure was a maximum estimate, and most of it would be in the form of loans or guarantees, not direct investments. In the Philippines, Trump pushed a 20% tariff. In exchange, the country cut tariffs on American imports and agreed to stronger military ties. The final tariff came to around 19%.
Our strongest, closest, most reliable ally has always been the United States. That is something that we value, that we are grateful for, and that we will continue to foster.
In Indonesia, Trump threatened a 32% threat. After some back and forth, they committed to buying $15 billion in American energy and 50 Boeing jets. Again, the finalized tariff was 19%.
Indonesia is very strong on copper, but we have full access to everything. We will pay no tariffs. So they are giving us access into Indonesia, which we never had. That's probably the biggest part of the deal. And the other part is they are going to pay 19% and we are going to pay nothing.
In Vietnam, Trump threatened a 46% tariff. Vietnam agreed to reduce import duties and better control Chinese products being rerouted through Vietnam. Their final tariff came to around 20%. Even the United Kingdom was not spared. Trump threatened a 25% tax on UK car exports. The UK responded by agreeing to buy $10 billion worth of Boeing planes and made concessions on beef and ethanol trading. As a result, tariffs were lowered to 10%, but with a quota system attached. From the US perspective, Trump got several things: increased exports, claimed billions in new investments, and a political win. Other countries, though, felt cornered. They agreed to high-cost deals just to avoid even higher taxes. Many called these deals unfair or one-sided. What's important is that, while Trump didn't always apply the high tariffs he threatened, the fear of losing access to the U.S. market forced most countries to give in, at least verbally. Whether they follow through on these promises, however, remains uncertain.
3. What Trump got right. There are clear upsides to Trump's bold trade strategy. First, the U.S. was able to collect billions of dollars in tariffs without collapsing its economy. In June alone, the U.S. Treasury brought in an extra $20 billion. Second, export partners were unable to find good alternatives to the U.S. market. Many countries chose to continue selling their products to America even with higher tariffs because of the size and power of the U.S. economy. Third, Trump made trade a front and center issue in American politics again. While past leaders focused on global cooperation, Trump focused on national results. He prioritized America's income and bargaining power. Some economists were surprised. They had predicted major inflation and lower growth, but that didn't happen. In fact, the U.S. economy still outpaced many G7 peers. Another key success was psychological. Trump showed that the U.S. could be taken seriously in trade talks, not as a passive negotiator, but as a tough partner. Countries learned that pushing back against Trump might not be worth the risk. In some ways, Trump's trade strategy resembled business deal-making. He went in strong, applied pressure, and demanded terms. It may not have been diplomatic, but it got results. Compared to past presidents who waited for consensus within international institutions, Trump stood out as more action-oriented and more aggressive. For better or worse, that made America harder to ignore.
4. Who loses? Despite some wins, Trump's tariff strategy comes with real costs. One major issue is uncertainty. Companies don't know whether tariffs will be enforced or lifted later. This makes it hard for them to plan. As a result, some companies chose not to expand or hire. Second, American consumers often pay more. When imports are taxed, prices go up. Families may face higher costs on many everyday goods, from clothing to electronics. Also, many international promises are non-binding. Countries like Japan later clarified that their investment pledges were not firm commitments, they were estimates, not legal contracts. And finally, relationships were strained. Longtime allies felt bullied, not respected. This could weaken future collaborations on trade, security, and diplomacy.
Final conclusion. In summary, Trump's trade deals are ambitious, aggressive, and filled with both risks and rewards. He used tariffs not just as punishment, but as tools for negotiation. While it wasn't always smooth, Trump successfully pushed countries to react and respond. In short, he changed the character of global trade politics. But with high rewards also come high risks. If countries break their promises or if consumer prices rise too much, the long-term effects might backfire. Whether you admire Trump's strategy or worry about it, it's clear that trade has become a major battlefield again. And that story is still unfolding. If you found this insight helpful, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. That way you won't miss future videos that explain global politics, economics, and how they affect your life. See you next time.